Jackson Podcast.
What's poppin', what's poppin', what's poppin'? So, Not Like Us is officially a year old. Kendrick Lamar just left where I'm located in Charlotte, North Carolina last night, and he turned the place out. But that ain't what this conversation is about. Uh, most people, the masses, got their information about the beef from Joe Budden and from DJ Academics. But I want to salute to Rory and Mal for being able to do their thing after leaving the Joe Budden podcast and remain relevant. And I want to salute to DJ Hed and what they're doing at Hip Hop DX with Elliot Wilson because they have been giving some great commentary. And DJ Hed is like one of Kendrick Lamar's official DJs and a person that he is close to. And Mal has been getting a lot of information personally from Drake. So on one of the episodes of Rory and Mal as of recently, because I tune into their show from time to time. I don't watch every episode, but they be having some dope discussions. And they've been like turning it up a little bit lately. So one of the episodes, Mal called DJ Hed out to have a conversation with him about Not Like Us and the beef. And they did it. They sat down and they had the conversation. And we're about to check it out and react to it and see who is saying frivolous things and see who is standing on business. Let's go.
Mal, harkening back to Family Matters.
Harkening, spell that. I'm sorry.
HR.
Mal, do you think domestic abuse allegations are too far in a battle, especially if they're unproven?
Do I think domestic abuse allegations in a battle are too far?
Unproven.
Unproven.
Yes.
Um,
I think everyone can say proven domestic violence
Yes.
is fair in a battle.
maybe, yeah. I guess I think that anything you start talking about, when you start talking about somebody's family and things like that, maybe a line that may be too far. But then again, this is rap hip hop, but I don't think that there's any line as far as calling somebody a pedophile. I think that's the worst thing you can put on anybody's show.
And we're going to get to
We'll
that.
get to that, but
Do you think that domestic violence allegations are okay in a rap battle?
It's nuance.
Define nuance in this situation.
It depends on what the line is and what the rules of engagement are.
Drake, I think, directly said that Kendrick had beat his girl.
Then was it warranted?
I don't know.
do you?
Because I don't know. Yeah. Do you think
it was
unproven
warranted?
domestic violence is okay to put in a battle?
I think anything is okay as long as both parties are cool with what the outcome. Like, you know how like the YNs be like, hey, let's meet up and die.
Yeah.
If both of y'all are cool with dying.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying like.
No, I get your point. I actually do get your
if
point.
me and you are okay with dying, then nothing's
all
off
good.
the table.
Right,
You
it's all good.
know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's only a problem if one party disagrees to the terms.
Okay. With that said, do you think Drake is a pedophile?
Do I think he's a what?
Do you think Drake is a pedophile?
By definition, no.
Okay.
By what? So not by definition, but by what? Because it sounds like you think he's a pedophile by something else.
That's not what I said.
I said it sounds like.
You know,
that's what you said.
that's not what I said. I don't take credit for anything I don't say.
Okay. So you don't think Drake is a pedophile by the definition of a pedophile?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. I hate this is just going to demonetize us immediately. And it's going to make my algorithms crazy. The definition of pedophile is sexual perversion in which children are the preferred sexual object.
Let me pause it for a minute because, that first question was, is it okay to speak about a person with a domestic violence in a rap battle or not? My favorite diss tracks is the Tupac Hit 'em Up and the Young Dolph Play With Your B. And I feel like in a rap battle, if it's true, if it's not, we get into the disrespect and it doesn't matter if it's right or if it's wrong. I don't care. I don't care about you. I'm trying to win this battle and I'm talking as crazy as possible. Mal is speaking like it should be rules and regulations in a battle because who he favors took the L. DJ Hed is sitting over there calm as ever because his guy won the battle. It's just simple as that. Mal has been sounding salty on the Rory and Mal podcast the whole time, just like how academics has been sounding salty about Drake taking the L. Drake took the L, but his career, I don't think it has been affected. I think he's still dropping good records. I think the perception of him has been affected, but I don't think his career has been affected. Let's keep it going.
I'm going to close my laptop and hope the feds don't raid here.
And the definitive definition of a child is what?
All right. See, don't whack 100 me where the age of consent in every state.
Okay, fine.
I think
to answer the layman answer.
And we also know as like moral fiber what a kid is and what a kid isn't.
The layman answer, Rory, is no.
Okay.
Okay.
And I believe you did answer it in if everyone's ready to die, everything's off the table. But you think pedophilia is okay to be brought up in a battle?
I think if I do discuss with you, hey, this is a line.
Mm-hmm.
My earlobes are off limits,
mm-hmm.
and I violate the sanctity of that. Let's meet up and die.
Okay.
Mal?
I'm mad at that.
Thoughts?
Any thoughts?
On what he just said?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's fair. If he feels like, again, if there was a conversation and, certain things were deemed off limits, if somebody violates, the terms of the conversation, I think all bets are off. There's no rules of engagement. Everything is, fair game. I just think, just where I think your moral compass kicks in at some point. And it's just certain things certain energies I just wouldn't invite into, my music and things like that. And I just think, just that word is something that I just would never throw around unless it was absolutely definitively true. Like, then cool. But if not, I don't think you play with that word at all.
I see he's about to ask him a question, but he talked about moral compass. Nobody is trying to be morally held accountable when it's a rap battle. Am I wrong? Talk to me in the comment section because I don't think that morals is in the window when it's rap beef. This is not I don't know how he's looking at this like this is a battle rap. I don't think that they looked at it like that. These people genuinely don't like each other. I know that because Drake first mentioned family members in his raps, and then Kendrick Lamar responded the way he responded. I'm not for either one of these artists. I'm just listening to this debate because that's exactly what it is. It's a debate. But let me let them get back to it.
I think that's the difference, though.
What?
The nuance of I want to say like cultural prowess, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like people who don't understand certain things.
Here's my thing, not to cut you off. If Kendrick, again, I've never had a conversation with Kendrick about any of this shit, but if he feels like Drake is indeed a pedophile, how long did he feel like that? How long did he, think Drake was a pedophile? And why has he done music with somebody he thinks is a pedophile? No, I'm not telling you to answer it. I would just say, to me, it's just like if we know, we come from a certain area, we see, we don't even play with that word. Because where we from, we know what happens to those type of people. We see people creating content online or meeting up with people that's trying to meet up with kids and have sex, beat them up, whatever. So in this battle, to introduce that energy against someone and you don't know if it's facts or not, you may just feel like it is for whatever reasons, whatever conversations you're privy to. My thing is, how long did you feel like that?
I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like,
let me ask Mal a question.
Yeah.
Mal is beefing with Joe Budden.
Mm-hmm.
What's off limits?
What's off limits?
What's off limits?
Nothing is off limits.
Nothing is off limits.
Yeah.
So let's meet up and die.
Yeah.
Okay.
There it is. So why should he expect, he hate Joe Budden so much he said that let's meet up and die. There's nothing off limits. But he expect somebody else to be accountable and to care about you know what I'm saying, another person and how they feel and integrity and is this the truth? And he just ethered them with that question without even answering his question, which was a valid question. Because, Mal's question, he said that why do music with somebody that you feel is a PDF? You know, they done music, it was over a decade ago. And the reason the beef actually got ignited again, I feel like, I'm not accurate in this statement though, but the song with him and J. Cole, that this beef been going on so long that I done forgot the name of the song. But the one where they was talking about Super Bowl something, I done forgot the last song that him and J. Cole did that went number one. They said that Drake and Cole reached out to Kendrick so he can be a part of that song. And Kendrick acknowledged that we got things that we need to hash out before we do records together. Let's go, man.
So by that standard, then you can't say, well, that goes against my moral compass and all. Like you just said, nothing is off limits.
Right.
So that's what that.
You're right, and I understand that, but when it comes to that, and we both have children, right? So we can at one point in our lives be ready to die and crash out. We'll burn all this shit down. But now when we're fathers and we have children, we don't think the same anymore. We don't speak the same anymore. We look at life totally different. We're more, we're different versions of what we used to be because, again, you have children and you understand how sacred that is and, how precious children are. So, yeah, we could be in this situation where we ready to go all out. But at some point, you got to be like, nah, I ain't doing that, though.
You just brought up kids. Who brought the kids up first?
No, I understand what you're saying in the timeline of things. I understand what you're saying.
So then,
but even in that,
you don't get the right to dictate anything beyond that point.
I'm not trying to dictate shit. I'm just.
I hate the fact that Drake fans, the delusional ones, remind me of Cowboy fans. He tried to set up a criteria about children, and he is not a father. Trying to set up a criteria saying these things that you saying in these raps could affect our children down the line. But the person that you're defending, that you're sitting up here defending, mention family members first. I'm confused, dog. And what's crazy about this is that he don't have kids talking like that. DJ Hed is keep cooking.
Saying at some point you have to say, all right, what I'm saying is the worst thing you could say about somebody. That better be a fact. Because once you do that, once you label somebody that, again, somebody call somebody a rat, we know what can happen when you just call somebody a snitch. Coming from Carson, coming from New York. We know what can happen. A pedophile is worse than all of that shit.
Okay.
So when you label a man that, I would just think that you would have to be 1,000% correct in what you're saying and have facts on that before you throw it out there. And I do understand there's no rules once you say, oh, my manager might be my kid's father. Cool. Disrespectful.
So no, not disrespectful. Again, you're trying to mitigate how one perceives the disrespect. You don't have the privilege of doing that. If somebody, if I tell somebody, if I walk outside right now and I tell somebody SMD, I have to be ready for whatever. I can't be like, oh, I got a kid and you got a kid. Let's think about it.
Oh no, Drake was ready for them. Obviously, he's the one that said.
So then at that point, there's no more discussion. Let's meet up and die.
I get that, but here's the problem is now. The problem is now when this is a record that you are like grandstanding and this is a message that you are displaying to the world. Like, you know what I mean? Like you got your Super Bowl show and you got the Amazon show and now you're doing stadiums and things like that. And this is the record that is like, that's where to me it's like, okay.
I just made a better record than you.
If that's the line you want to stand on, cool. Listen, it's a battle. We pick sides. Who you think won, who you think lost, great. I'm just saying now that all of that is kind of like over. Well,
would you feel the same way if Family Matters became what Not Like Us is?
About the line of Dave Free being
he performing at the Super Bowl, claiming that my kids ain't mine, his kids ain't his.
But I've said that. I was like, yo, he better have some information we don't have because that's crazy to put on somebody.
That's not what I asked you. What I asked you is, do you feel the same way if Family Matters becomes what Not Like Us is?
You know, I want to say something about the United States of America. And I be watching a lot of people in Canada's platforms. I have partners in Canada that, you know, I check them out. We collaborate. I've been on their show. You know, they ain't been on my show yet, but I've been on their show and they help me think differently about this beef because Canadians, I don't know if capitalism exists in Canada, but my thoughts about, you know what I'm saying, integrity and feelings and holding yourself accountable for something when it comes to a beef, I think they need to, y'all need to, you know, nobody gives a shit, man. Real talk. Like DJ Hed said, if you initiate the first taking the third disrespect, you can't like try to give me rules and regulations upon how I respond. What if he would have just did something to Drake physically behind the disrespect? Because that's how some people are. But you know, a lot of people who I feel like Mal, you know, his brother is Biggs, 1/3 of Rockefeller when it was Dame Dash Jay-Z. He been financially stable for a long time, since a young boy. Then he got down with Joe Budden and Joe Budden took care of him. I think that he has been so removed from, he might not have never even been in the environment. You know, I don't think he's a street cat by the type of things that he be saying, because if you was, you'll realize that when the war is on, ain't no rules to how I'm gonna engage and respond, man. Real talk, you sound like a sissy, and I love your platform, but you sound like an emotional type of nigga. Let me let you keep talking though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
No, my moral compass is set to where it's set to. It's certain things to me that I'm just like, all right, like you gonna say that, you got to stand on that.
So you being from where you're from and me being from where I'm from, we have a certain level of, I call it texture, which I don't necessarily know how to describe it. You can tell when somebody is not authentically of that texture because they.
Of what texture?
You come from a certain environment where you operate in a certain space, code of conduct.
I had to stop it because what I said, it was valid right when he said, he said, you come from where you come from, I come from where I come from. You can tell when a person is not of that texture. They don't come from that environment for real. And he said, what texture? He told on himself, nigga, you ain't from that environment. That's why you think people supposed to be morally incompetent when they dealing with beef. It just, you know, I ain't even gonna play no more. Go check it out on the Rory and Mal podcast. DJ Hed and Mal debate Not Like Us. This is just a 13-minute clip of that. You know, it was a good conversation or whatever, but I'm off of this though. You know, I can't even. This is the problem with podcasting right here. You got people speaking on street activities, hip hop, and art, and they're not of the culture, they're not of the texture, they're not of the environment, and they speaking maliciously and doing things to trigger the algorithm to get motion and movement to what they got going on, and they ain't from that environment, man. This is just, they on a Capathon. Salute to Kendrick. Not Like Us a year later. What's your thoughts of the record? I appreciate y'all tuning in to my show. Peace, love, plenty, abundance. Make sure you go get you some money, and I'm gone. Chill.
The Trevor Jackson Podcast.